This is Burkina Faso, a landlocked nation in West Africa that's in the middle of a big transformation. In only 3 years, it has witnessed 2 major coups, expelled foreign troops, cut its ties with the West, and begun forming new ones with powers like Russia. The country has also begun taking back control of its key industries after decades of foreign corporate influence over its economy. But how did Burkina Faso get here? And what happens when a once colonized country stops following the rules and starts paving its own path? Well, the story of Burkina Faso's radical transformation begins in January 2022, when the country, already battling rising jihadist violence, government mistrust, and a worsening economy, saw its first major political rupture. Because that's when soldiers led by Lieutenant Colonel Paul-Henri Damiba overthrew President Roch-Marc Kabore, claiming they could restore security in the country. But just 9 months later, Damiba was overthrown too. That's when 34-year-old Captain Ibrahim Traore seized power in a coup and declared himself temporary president. At first, many saw him as just another military figure in a long cycle of coups. But Traore quickly proved different. Young, good at convincing the people, and openly critical of foreign influence, he positioned himself as a revolutionary voice in the region. In one of his first speeches, he asked a powerful question: why, despite all its gold, is Burkina Faso still one of the poorest countries in the world? The message resonated, and so did his actions. Under his rule, the government took swift action for change in the country by expelling foreign troops, suspending Western media outlets, and ramping up support for local defense militias. And while many Western governments labeled his rise as a setback for democracy, Traore's approval rating soared across the country, and supporters argued it was something else entirely. Rather, a popular correction led by a new generation of African leadership, demanding dignity and control over their own country. Because for years, Burkina Faso was an important French ally in the Sahel region. But under Traore, that relationship crumbled fast. By early 2023, mass protests erupted across Ouagadougou, the country's capital. The streets were filled with huge crowds, and some protesters were even burning the French flag. The protesters demanded an end to France's 20-year era of military presence, and quickly thereafter, Traore's government responded by expelling French troops and giving them just a month to leave. In their place, new partnerships began to emerge. You see, in 2023, Ibrahim Traore made headlines when he visited the Kremlin to meet with the Russian President Putin. This was a clear signal of the deepening ties. And in 2025, this was further confirmed when he even visited the Russian military parade in Moscow. But while details of military cooperation remain murky, the symbolism of the visits were unmistakable. Burkina Faso was charting a new course. A course away from former partners in the West, and towards new ones who they deemed to align better with the country's new vision for sovereignty and self-determination. Another important part of Burkina Faso's transformation is the revolution for the country's gold. You see, Burkina Faso is one of Africa's top gold producers. But for years, most profits went abroad, while locals saw little benefit. Under Traore, many believe that will change. The government is revising mining deals, nationalizing mines, and in 2024, the country unveiled its first locally made gold bars, a big step towards reaping the benefits of its most valuable resource. But this isn't just about profit, it's about power. Reclaiming resources has become central to Burkina Faso's vision for the future. And in early 2024, Burkina Faso took another bold step toward this goal when it officially withdrew from ECOWAS, the Economic Community of West African States. Established in 1975, ECOWAS was meant to promote regional integration, peace, and economic cooperation. But for many in Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, it had become a symbol of outside pressure and political interference that didn't align with the ideas of the people. So, the 3 countries left and in its place formed a new bloc, the Alliance of Sahel States. Their goal? Mutual defense, regional autonomy, and a break from what they saw as Western-dominated institutions. Critics were quick to label it a union of military juntas. But to many, it was more than just a political alliance. It was seen as a foundation for something bigger, a future where African nations build strength through unity, not dependency. But this sweeping transformation hasn't come without cost or controversy. In May 2025, Human Rights Watch, a human rights organization, accused Burkina Faso's military of directing the killing of 130 civilians during a counterinsurgency operation near Solenzo. The victims were claimed to be largely ethnic Fulani, raising fears that the war on terror is turning into something else entirely. And while the government has denied intentionally targeting civilians, many human rights groups have warned these attacks could amount to war crimes and risk inflaming the very instability the military claims to be fighting. It's a stark reminder that the fight for sovereignty and stability is also unfolding on a darker and more dangerous edge. Over the past 3 years, Burkina Faso has made bold moves in an attempt to change the country's course towards full sovereignty. But will their strategy succeed? That is still highly unclear. If it does, Burkina Faso could help shape a new path for other countries battling the same issues. And if it doesn't, it risks becoming a country defined by its constant unrest and military coups rather than by its growth. If you found my covering on Burkina Faso interesting, remember to subscribe and watch this video on the city that could become the world's largest.